also the co-author of an award-winning cookbook, Cook and Survive. He's currently in production phase of a vegan horror themed feature movie, A44, which was filmed primarily right in the Syracuse area. Along with his sidekick, Indy, the German Shepherd, he puts his spin on the love for film, horror, and his vegan lifestyle to teach and inspire others to live a healthy and compassionate life. So hey everybody, let's give a really warm welcome to Chris Cooney.
Thank you. Am I on?
Yeah, I'm going to work with you a little bit, but yeah, let's get started.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming out to Syracuse VegFest. I've been at so many VegFest all over the country for so many years, and I'm excited to be here because Syracuse is my hometown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what we're going to make. I'm going to make 2 recipes today. And then I'm going to tell you my vegan story and then how I started the vegan zombie so you guys know what that's all about there. So I got to try to figure out how to use this machine here. Menu. Okay, there we go. The first recipe is they're both breakfast recipes because we can eat breakfast, any time of the day. Does anybody else eat breakfast at night? Yeah, breakfast any time of the day for breakfast. So I got the first recipe is a breakfast sandwich, and I've been making this for the majority of the time that I've been vegan. And the second one is French toast, which I've been making for roughly around 15 years or so. It is in my cookbook, which I'll get to a little bit later. So the breakfast sandwich, I didn't want to cheat, but I want to introduce people that might not be vegan to a couple different things. So I'm going to make part of it from scratch, and then other things I'm going to introduce that are products that I like that you can buy at the store. But the second recipe is completely from scratch. So being vegan for a long time, you get to see how the products have progressed over the years. For instance, when I first went vegan, if you could even find any cheese, which I don't think you could, when the first cheeses came out, like Veganrella and stuff, they were horrible. And there was a lot of bad vegan cheeses, but as time went on, we have some good ones now, so I'm going to introduce those as well. For the breakfast sandwich, I'm going to use tofu. I'm going to season it up. And we have some gimme lean sausage. This has been around for a really long time. If you've been vegan for a while, you've probably made your own breakfast sandwich or a variation of it. And then we have some cheese, and I'm using today some Violife cheese. You can call it Violife or Veal Life. I know the owners, and a few other really good vegan cheeses are like Chow by Field Roast, Follow Your Heart, Good Planet Foods. And if you like those cheeses, you'll probably like Violife, because here's a little secret. Violife makes all the bases for those other cheeses, but those companies have their proprietary flavoring that goes into it. So this melts really well, and I like it. And at Wegmans, it's the cheapest one you can find right now, only by like 50 cents. Okay, so is that hot? That's pretty hot. So I also want to say I normally cook on a cast iron pan, but today I'm using these. This company sent me these non-stick skillets, and I got to say they're my favorite because they really are non-stick. In the past I've had non-stick that stick, and these are ceramic, cadmium-free. How do you say cadmium in sign language? Okay, cadmium-free, PFOA and PFA-free, so it's not going to kill you. A zombie might come through the door, but no, we're not there yet. Okay, so let me get my utensils here because it's pretty windy out. So make sure you have a sharp knife. I don't have anything to drain the tofu in, so. Okay, so tofu. For those of you that aren't familiar with tofu, how many people here are vegan? You got a lot of vegans in the crowd, so I probably don't need to explain too much. So tofu, I'm using extra firm tofu. I like to buy mine at Wegmans because it really is truly extra firm. And I'm gonna cut this, well, we only need one, but I would cut it into thirds this way. It's okay, I'm not gonna pass the food out, so I don't have any gloves on, so. And then I have a bunch of seasonings that I like to put on here. We're just going to lightly season it with some salt and pepper. I don't press my tofu like ever. I like it to be a little bit wet so it can take on flavors. This is just a local onion salt that I really like. Has anybody been to Green Hills Farms? Is that what it's called? I live near it, and I finally went there for the first time recently, and I'm like, wow, it's the closest store to me, and they got a lot of good stuff there. A little bit of pepper, and then dried basil, dried oregano. You can really put whatever seasoning you want on there, but part of that makes it have like a nice crispy outside when you put some of those dried herbs on it. And I'm using some Earth Balance. You can use whatever vegan butter you have. You don't even have to cook with butter if you don't want, but I want this to be the best version of what I make, and therefore I don't normally cook with oil, but you can go and make this as healthy as you want and either use oil or not. So we got a piece of tofu on there. Is it too windy? No? Okay. We're going to let that cook, and I like to put my breakfast sandwich on bagels, and my favorite in the area are Wegmans. I got the sesame ones. They say vegan right on it. These are the Wegmans fresh baked from the bakery, and you could use English muffins or toast. I've even used waffles before. So we're going to cut that in half. And you can either toast it in a toaster, but I like to put a little bit of that butter on it. Again, we're making the best version, right? The tastiest version. And kind of grill it up, kind of like the outside of a grilled cheese would be. Mom, I learned that from you. And then the Light Life. So this is the vegan sausage, and it is store-bought. I could make my own sausage. I've done it before, but we just don't have enough time for that. You can make your own vegan cheese too, but we wanted to have enough time to do this demo here. So I just cut this into like a tube like that, and I usually use my hand, but I don't have anywhere to wash my hands right now. So we're gonna grab a spatula, push that down, and you got a nice wedge of sausage. We're gonna put that right in the pan, and we're gonna let that cook up. My vegan story. All right, so when I was a very young age, when I was about 14, I was into what a lot of kids in the 80s and early 90s were into, and I was into martial arts. And a friend of a friend was into a specific martial art called ninjutsu, and like I was over, like that was the best day of my life when he said he would start training us martial arts. And he used to come into town, he's a little bit older than us, come into town and train us the martial art once or twice a month. And one day before he did this, this guy was like, the way I remember him, he was a minimalist, he was a Buddhist, and he did everything in like the ancient ways that the Buddhist and the ninjutsu used to do things. And he taught us one day that the ancient ninjas were predominantly vegetarian, and he brought with him a block of tofu, which at that point in my life, I had never heard of the word tofu. And he had like a little dish of tabbouleh, and then he had some green tea. And in my 14-year-old mind, I said, I don't care how that tastes. If ninjas did it, I'm gonna do it. So I tried tofu just like this, no flavor, raw tofu just like this. And it wasn't good, it wasn't bad, but when I eat it like this now, it gives me that nostalgia right back to that time and place. And from that day on, me and two of my friends, we went vegetarian. And I decided that I was only gonna eat vegetarian. We'll turn that over, that's cooking pretty good. And my mom thought that was just a phase. But I was really stubborn. My mom would make dinner, and it wasn't vegetarian, and I would come upstairs and want to eat, and I'd be like, there's nothing to eat, I'm hungry. And she would say something like, well, if you ate what the rest of us ate, you wouldn't be hungry. So I started learning to cook my own foods. I tried pastas and rice and just different things. I started using herbs and spices, making up my own thing. And back then, you got to remember, there was no internet, there was no YouTube, there was no Google. It was hard to find any kind of information. And the way I was is I had always loved animals. I remember when I was super young and I was riding my bike. By the way, E.T. is my favorite movie of all time. And I was riding my bike, probably 10, 11 years old, and I found, I think it was a woodchuck or something, but it got hit by a car. It wasn't dead, and I picked it up, and I brought it home, and I said, Mom, he's not dead, we got to save it. And she's like, Chris, what are you doing? So we got in the car and we took it down to the animal hospital, and they did something. I don't know what they did, but at least I thought I was helping it. And so when I went vegetarian, I did this, first because of ninjutsu, but it just resonated with me because I didn't want to hurt animals. And at that time, I thought, like, hey, as long as I'm not eating them, I'm not hurting them. But dairy, like, at least we're not hurting them with dairy. That's what I thought. So. And I was a hardcore vegetarian because I remember that in cheese, especially like pizza cheese, there was an ingredient called rennet. And rennet meant it was like the lining of a goat stomach or a cow stomach, which meant that they killed the animal, and I wouldn't eat that kind of cheese. So as time went on, the years went by, I was 18 years old now, and I was sitting in Taco Bell on Erie Boulevard, not too far from here. And I was with a couple of friends, and I got a cheese burrito. And we still need to cook this a little bit more. I like to put I'm going to put the bagel in there so we can toast that up as well. So I'm eating my cheese burrito, and I just start thinking about everything. And at that moment, I realized that even though I didn't see any data or anything, because again, this was when I was 18, it was 4 years before Google even existed. I just didn't want to be part of hurting animals or the animal industry. So at that point, I knew I wanted to go vegan, but everybody had told me, including my parents, like, Chris, okay, vegetarian's okay, but if you go vegan, your health is you're gonna get sick, and you don't want to do it. And I believed this. But at that point, I was like, I don't care. I took a leap of faith. I thought I was going to get sick. And I said, at that moment, I didn't want to eat any more animal products at all. And if this can help anybody that's not vegan or, somebody that's struggling, this is how I did it. In my mind, I didn't consider animal products to be food. So, I mean it. I can't eat my phone. And to me, animal products were inedible. I couldn't eat them. So if I said that in my head, that they were not food, no matter what they look like or how they smelled, then I started thinking, well, what can I eat? There's so many other things. There's plants and seeds and nuts and grains. And if you're gross, mushrooms. I'm the vegan that doesn't like mushrooms. So I took all those things. If you take all of those ingredients, there's literally countless different variations you can make unlimited vegan meals with. And that's what I did from that day on. And wow, that going vegan was the single best decision I had ever made in my life, not knowing it at the time. And the ironic part, I don't know if it's ironic or just kind of cool, but that was September 23rd, 1994. So that was 29 years ago today that I went vegan. And I had no idea. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be up here right now talking to you guys. But yeah, that was the best decision I ever made. And I felt a noticeable difference because I thought I was going to be sick. But within 2 weeks, I had more energy and I wasn't lethargic, and I felt that. Because I was actually born with a heart condition that affected my lungs, my heart, and I was told I would never outgrow it. And that's why I always felt like I was out of breath and lethargic. But then when I went vegan, I didn't feel that anymore. And I don't know if that's what helped me or not, but I went back and when I was an adult, and I got a second opinion, and I no longer have that. I outgrew it, and I'm normal. I don't have that heart condition anymore that I was told I would never outgrow. So there's that. Thank you. So we're gonna toast the other one up now. And going vegan, like I said, was the best decision I ever made, and it led me to what I'm doing here right now, and that is the vegan zombie. So how did I come up with this vegan zombie thing, and what is it? Okay, well, we got to go back to when I was a little kid. Even before I was born, my dad loved doing movies. He had a movie camera from the time he was 14 years old. So when I was born, he took movies of when I was a little kid, of me, my brothers, my sister growing up, my friends, and I was fascinated by movie cameras. And when I was in second grade, I remember the class went on a field trip, and there was this one kid in our class, and we're talking about early 80s. And he had a Fisher-Price camcorder. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it was black and white. And I remember he took a video of that field trip that day, and then we could all watch it back in class. And I was like, I need one of these. I never got one. But when I was 16, I did what any other kid would do. I got a job and I worked all summer long so I could buy a car. I saved up all my money, and then of course, what did I buy? A camcorder. I figured my friends would drive me around and I'd film everything, and I still have these memories today. But camcorders back then were, if you wanted to film something, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have camera phones. If you wanted to film something, you needed a camcorder, and they were expensive. So I bought like an $800 camera, and I filmed everything. And then I moved to Florida, and I bought a high-end camcorder at a pawn shop, and I loved doing this. And then when I was old enough to make a decision to go to college, I really wanted to be a director. I wanted to be a film director, a movie director, and I thought to myself when it came down to it, I'm not independently wealthy and I don't know anyone in Hollywood. I've got no connections. And back then we didn't have editing suites, home editing suites. None of that existed. So I said, I'm probably not going to do this. I'm going to do something else. And this will just be like a hobby of mine that I can do in my spare time. So what was something else I wanted to do? I loved the X-Files. And I loved Mulder and Scully, so I wanted to be a special agent in the FBI at the time. So I wanted to go to school for that, which I went to school for criminal justice. I got a degree, I worked hard. I became a special investigator, not in the FBI, but another part of the government. To me, it was a stepping stone to get in the FBI. And as time went on, I passed the written part of the exam, which I did not think I was going to pass. It was really hard. And when I got the letter back, I didn't open it for a couple days because I knew I failed it. And I was really bummed out. But when I finally opened it and I said I passed, I'm like, I don't know how I did that. But I did, and then the next part was the physical fitness. And at this point, I was living in DC. I was doing physical training, and I hurt myself. And I thought I pulled a hamstring. But I actually gave myself sciatica. I don't know if anybody's had sciatica. It's not fun. And normally when you have sciatica, it goes away in maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But I had the worst form of it you could get, and it didn't go away. So I'm not kidding when I say every second of every minute of every day, of every week of every month, for 2 years I was in pain. And I started feeling like I was living at the end of my life when I was only in my 30s. And I went to the doctor, which I don't like going to the doctor, but I went to the doctor and I said, I can't live like this anymore. And the doctor said, well, you're going to live like this or you're going to get surgery. And I didn't want surgery, but I did it. And that was the second best decision I made because I didn't have any more pain anymore after the surgery. I failed at getting in the FBI. I never quit, but I failed because I reached the age limit. And I could no longer be in the FBI. And here I am working as a special investigator with another branch, and I'm working here in Syracuse, New York, and it was early spring of 2009, and I'm driving, I think it was in the area of Sterling, New York, and we're gonna open the cheese. We're gonna open the cheese now. And I said to myself, I am so bummed out because I hate my job, and I have no passion for it, and this can't be it for me. I don't wanna work this for until I'm 60 and then retire. So I'm just gonna put that cheese on there and put the top on it. We're gonna let it melt a little bit. And I said to myself, all right, well, what am I passionate about? What do I love? What can I wake up every day and wanna do? What do I love? And it was easy. I just said, I love making movies, and I particularly love the horror genre. And I've been vegan most of my life, so I'll just throw that in there. And I started thinking those three things. Okay, what can I do with those three things? Mash them together, and I started thinking, vegan werewolves? Nah, that'd be too hard. I love vampires. Vegan vampire, yeah. No, wait a minute. Vegan zombie. And immediately I thought of a whole plot line for a movie, for a vegan zombie apocalypse where the zombie virus was through the meat and dairy people were eating. And I went home and I grabbed a legal pad and a pencil, and I hate writing, but I started writing an entire script. And I didn't stop until I was done. And then when I had that script ready, I figured, well, what's the best way to make a movie when you don't know how? I mean, I had been making little movies and videos with my friends and family all my life, but I wanted to do it like the professionals. And now it's 2009, YouTube exists. It was new, but it existed. Google was around, the internet was around, and there was home editing systems. So, I figured I can do this. I could start making little videos and put them on YouTube and just practice, because the best way to do something is to just practice and fail and do it again and do it again. And I wanted to practice. So at the time, there was nothing on YouTube like that, and there were no vegan channels on YouTube. So I thought to myself, what if I made a vegan cooking show that was set in the zombie apocalypse? That'd be fun, that'd be cool. And if somebody watched it and got an idea for a vegan recipe, hey, that's a win-win, right? I didn't think anybody would watch it, but hey, I can put it up there, get better at making a movie so I could make my movie, and at the same time, maybe inspire somebody to go vegan. So at the time, I was incredibly shy, and you would never catch me speaking in front of anybody because I was terrified of public speaking. So I thought of this one guy. My youngest brother's best friend from high school was also vegan, and he also had a degree in the culinary arts. So I met with him one night at Wegmans. I don't know if anybody does this or used to do it, but we used to go to Wegmans late at night and sit in the dining area and grab some food, and we'd eat it and just chill out. Wegmans was the place to go. I used to go there with Eric. And so we did that, and I told John was his name, and I told him all about this, and I said, would you want to be the face of the show, and I'll film it and direct it and all these, give you ideas? And he's like, absolutely. So we went ahead and we made stuffed shells in his studio apartment, and we uploaded it to YouTube. And at this point in time, the only people that I would show my videos to were my 6 family members and a couple friends. So when I shared this video to YouTube, I think we got like 65 views or something like that. And I was like, John, oh my God, 65 people saw our video. He's like, what? And we're like, oh my God, we gotta make more. And then that video actually eventually climbed to like tens of thousands of views. And we kept making more videos and more videos. And then we had an audience, and we started, we had 100 subscribers and 200 and 1,000 and 10,000 and then 100,000, and it just kept growing. And then that's perfect. I gotta stop every once in a while and cook, Okay, so at this point, let me just throw this together. We've got a beautiful tofu with cheese on it. And if you really wanted to go easier, there is a product called the Just Egg, which a lot of you probably already know, and it comes in like a liquid, but they also have the patty form, and you could just save time. But this is tofu, and this is doing it yourself. So we'll put that on there, and then we got the sausage. Nobody's eating this. And we'll put the sausage on there, and whatever kind, you could make a hollandaise sauce, you could put ketchup on it. I've even, like, this isn't gross, it might sound it, but I like sometimes to dip it in maple syrup. But anyway, there's our breakfast sandwich. It's delicious. I've had many of these over the years, and this is something that I would make for a non-vegan friend, and I've never had a complaint about that. Let's just shut that off for a second. And the second thing that we're going to make, I needed a bowl and I didn't have one, so we borrowed a bowl from Strong Hearts. You're gonna have to remind me where I was because I already forgot. Okay, so this recipe right here is in our Cook and Survive cookbook, which that's where we're at. I'll get to this in a second. So this recipe is extremely easy. Okay, we're gonna use 1/4 of a cup of flour. So sorry, it's not gluten-free. We have some powdered sugar, 1/4 of a cup of that. Sorry, I just don't want everything to blow away. And we have a teaspoon of cornstarch. This one's a super easy recipe, and it doesn't take as long as the last one did. We got a teaspoon of vanilla. And over, where did I put it? Right here. Some maple syrup. And we're gonna put in, we need a couple tablespoons of that. 1, 2 tablespoons, and a little bit more for good measure. Okay. Gotta clean that up. So. And then this is my secret ingredient in the zombie thermos. Okay, all this is plant milk. I just got some soy milk in here. You can use oat milk, whatever you want. I got some soy milk in here. What's the first milk everybody had? Like the first milk I ever had was rice milk, long time ago. And I like the vanilla rice milk, the rice stream, but it is a little bit watery. That's what we had to drink when we were brand new vegans back in the 90s. Okay, so all I really did there is make just like a batter. We're making French toast, and that's really all you need to do for a batter. You could use that Just Egg for this. And I have here some of this Wegmans bread, which I'm really liking that they say vegan on it now, because it didn't used to, but it's just that pain bread. Italian pain bread, organic, and you would normally want like a little bit stale bread here, but what I really tried to get is Trader Joe's has a really good vegan brioche bread that is perfect for this, but they didn't have any, and I tried. And then so you grab the bread, we're gonna put it in here, and I like to like actually really squeeze it a little, get some of that batter in there for this French toast. And we're gonna turn this back on. Okay. And we're just gonna put that in there, and I'll finish my story. You know what? I forgot to put a little bit of butter in there. Just because, remember, best tasting scenario. And by the way, these pans, all you need is a paper towel or a rag, wet rag, and it clean them right off. And it's no problem at all. All right. Okay. The second one. All right, we'll let them cook now. And where was I at? The what? The cookbook. Okay, so our subscribers asked us, they said, you guys, we love your recipes, but you know, when we're in the kitchen and we got to press stop, pause, you know, pause, play, watching your videos, why don't you make a cookbook? We're like, we don't know how to make a cookbook. And so I found a friend who actually made vegan cookbooks, and he said, well, let's put a Kickstarter together and we'll make a vegan cookbook. And we're like, okay, we don't know what we're doing, but if we get the money we need, we'll do a cookbook. So we put up a Kickstarter, and the amount we needed was, to me, it was a lot of money. I'm like, there's no way we're gonna get this. There's no way. But if we do, we'll make a cookbook. Well, you know, there we go. We'll make a cookbook if we get this. I don't think we're gonna do it. So we put the Kickstarter up. In 3 days, we had that much money. By the end of the 30 days, we had 3 times that, so we made an even better cookbook than we wanted to make in the first place. Now this cookbook is, next year will be the 10-year anniversary of it. Unfortunately, right now it's out of print, but I do have an ebook version of this, which you can find on theveganzombie.com. And at the beginning of that, it's kind of unique. It's got like a illustrated comic book story of the vegan zombie. And it's got a French toast and a bunch of other recipes in it. So we made the cookbook, and then we did a book tour of Germany, because the book was printed in Germany. And that was an experience in itself, because we literally traveled all over Germany and we did these demos, kind of like what I'm doing right now. And then we were able to travel. We did a couple of vegan cruises, and these are all because I came up with a silly idea, because we were invited to do these things. I remember being on a cruise doing one of these demos with John, like we're doing right now, and everybody was there watching us, and I leaned in and I'm like, you know what's funny? And he's like, what? I'm like, everybody's here to see us, and we're the poorest people on this cruise. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. We were able to do a lot of things because of just that silly little idea. So then back in 2018, finally, the movie was the main thing, but once we started the channel, the movie went on the back burner, and the cooking show became the main thing. But back in 2018, we did a second Kickstarter, and we wanted to make a feature movie, a real movie. Not a YouTube thing, not like, hey, let's grab our little cameras. We did a real movie. We wanted to do a real movie. And we were successful in funding that. And it took us a little bit longer, because we all know what happened over 2020, 2021. But last year at this time right now, we were filming the Vegan Zombie movie, which is called A44. We filmed it mostly here in Syracuse, because that's where I'm from. I didn't want to go out to LA and do it. I wanted it right here. And we had a lot of fun doing it, a lot of challenges, but we wrapped the movie October 30th of last year, and I'm in post-production right now. So hopefully next year we'll have a movie out, and it will, hopefully, as of right now, would be the first vegan horror movie that's not a documentary, like a feature movie, that is pro-vegan and it's not making fun of veganism. So, French toast. Let's flip the French toast, see how it's looking. Ooh, that's looking so good. I don't know if you guys can see it. You guys probably can't see it from up, but it's perfect. It looks so good. Ooh, look at that one. I don't know if you can see it, but it's windy and chilly out here. It's just about done. And what you can do is, in our cookbook, we slice up some bananas or fruit. I don't have any plates, but you know, you can use a colander and some of that powdered sugar, put that over it, or you can put some maple syrup over it, and you have the breakfast sandwich and the French toast. I just want to, I want to shout out and thank the volunteers that made this VegFest happen. That right there is my good buddy No Egg Craig. My buddy Craig. So Craig is also a vegan, and we became friends through a YouTube channel. He also has a YouTube channel, and he's videotaping this for me today. So thank you, Craig. His YouTube channel is called No Egg Craig, and his family owns a candy business called Hercules Candy that's been in Syracuse for, I think, over 110 years. And they're local. They're just right around the corner from the James Street Wegmans. And they do have a vegan selection there. So if you go there, you know, get some vegan candy. And then obviously I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my parents, who are right there in the crowd right there. And yesterday they celebrated their 50-year wedding anniversary. So happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. Thank you for having me and inspiring me, because now I'm up here hopefully inspiring other people to go vegan in a fun and exciting way, and that's what our channel is all about. We've done so many videos over the years, since 2009, almost 15 years. And what we like to do is we like to have fun and teach people how to be vegan and stay vegan. And we have recipe videos. We've been to animal sanctuaries. And if you are a longtime viewer of the channel and you do remember John, because John was the face of the channel, this is something I forgot to say. He eventually, life hit him and he didn't want to do it anymore. And then I had a decision to make, and the decision was either I got to find a replacement, or I'm going to lose everything I worked really hard for, or I have to do it. So I ended up making the decision to jump in front of the camera myself, which I hated being on camera, and I was very shy. I couldn't do what I'm doing right now. But my alternative was I'd lose everything that I worked for. So I ended up doing it. I remember the first video I did myself. I was so embarrassed. I put it up on YouTube, and I literally made it go live, and I had my mouse pointer over the delete button as I was refreshing it. And I was waiting for a negative comment so I could delete the video. But a strange thing happened. I got a bunch of positive comments, and that video eventually got over 200,000 views, and it's one of the most popular ones. So I kind of basically took over, and John is actually here today, and he's at the Mockingbird Farm Sanctuary table. So if you know John, you can go say hi to him today. Are there any questions? You know, nobody ever has any questions. So can somebody please have a question? It's okay.
Why don't you like mushrooms?
I just never liked the consistency of mushrooms. I don't like the taste of mushrooms. You know, I was on that vegan cruise, and everybody had like a portobello mushroom burger, and I got to say it looked so good. So I gave it one more try, and I got one, and it looked really good, and I bit into it, and I did not like it. I do want to say I have a booth over there, and I will be there until we close, and I have all this brand new merch. I just did the brand new orange on black, kind of like fall themed shirts. You can grab some of the merchandise. It's cheaper today than it is on my website normally, and there's a limited quantity over there, or you can just come by and say hi, and thanks for coming out.
All right, let's put it up for Chris Cooley. I'm Holly, that's my thing. Trust me, I don't like mushrooms either.
No, that's okay.
At 1 o'clock, I believe, we have Eric Lipson coming up to chat with us. And until then, go get yourself something good to eat.
No mushrooms. Breakfast sandwich.
I can smell it the whole time.
Super good.